And thank you, Undersecretary General DiCarlo and High Commissioner Turk, for your briefings. Colleagues, the United States remains of the view that a broader conflict in the Middle East is neither desirable nor inevitable. But the actions various actors take in the coming days will, once again, determine how the situation evolves. It is imperative that even as facts emerge about the latest incidents, in which, I reiterate, the United States played no role, all parties refrain from any actions which could plunge the region into a devastating war. The Security Council cannot ignore the origins of this particular conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. Prior to Hamas's brutal terrorist attack, quiet had largely been maintained along the Blue Line for 18 years, since the adoption of Resolution 1701 in 2006. This stability was shattered on October 7 and 8, when Israel was attacked without provocation by non-state armed groups in Lebanon. And for the past 11 months, the people of Lebanon have suffered the devastating consequences of this conflict, which is not their own. More than 100,000 Lebanese civilians and more than 65,000 Israeli civilians have been displaced. Civilians on both sides of the Blue Line have seen their homes destroyed and their fields and orchards burned. Hezbollah, which receives extensive training, arms, and financing from Iran, took these actions in solidarity with Hamas, not for Lebanon or the Lebanese people. And for the past 11 months, Hezbollah has continued to bombard communities in northern Israel on a near daily basis, again, in support of Hamas and Iran's broader campaign to threaten Israel. Hezbollah's sustained attacks, presence along the Blue Line, and entrenchment in southern Lebanon also put Israeli and Lebanese civilians at risk. Israel has a right to defend itself against Hezbollah's attacks. No member of this council facing a terrorist organization on its border would tolerate daily rocket attacks on its territory and the displacement of tens of thousands of its people. We expect all parties will comply with international humanitarian law and take all reasonable steps to minimize harm to civilians, especially those in densely populated areas. Continued escalation of the violence across the Blue Line will not create the conditions for displaced Israeli and Lebanese civilians to return to their homes in northern Israel and southern Lebanon. Rather, the United States continues to believe a diplomatic resolution is the only way to create the conditions for displaced Lebanese and Israeli civilians to return to their homes with safety and security. And we will continue to pursue this goal. Iran, through its sustained supply of weapons and personnel to Hezbollah, in blatant disregard and defiance of the call for disarmament in Resolutions 1559 and 1701, and in violation of the latter's legally binding arms embargo, appears to have a different agenda. Over many years, the United States has committed substantial resources to humanitarian efforts in Lebanon and supported independent institutions such as the Lebanese Armed Forces and Internal Security Forces. Equally significant, the Security Council has clearly and repeatedly expressed its desire to see the full authority of the Lebanese government extended throughout Lebanon's territory. And it has emphasized its strong support for the aspirations of the Lebanese people to live in peace, free from foreign meddling. Every member of this council has a responsibility to help Lebanon's people avoid further tragedy, to support diplomatic efforts that would help restore calm along the Blue Line, which again would enable civilians in southern Lebanon and northern Israel to return to their homes, and to also press Iran to cease its destabilizing and dangerous use of Hezbollah to undermine regional security in a way that puts the Lebanese people in danger. This is the path toward greater regional stability, and the United States will continue to do everything possible to support de-escalation and an enduring diplomatic solution. Thank you, Mr. President.